One of my favorite lines, and so IT begins. Violet is a lovely, well-behaved human child of 8 years old. I try my best to take care of her, but she is still a human child and can be difficult at times, at least as far as a cat goes. I still love her very much, though. She is just so cute for a human. I took ownership of her when I was still a kitten. My parents arranged this. They first noticed Violet about 2 years ago when her parents used to take her to the park that my parents lived in so that she can play. They set it up so I could literally purr my way right into her heart. Of course, she took one look at me and had to take me home to take care of. Her parents were an easy sell. After all, I was a very cute little kitten. We spent a great deal of time playing with each other, but she was always a great joy to be around. A kind and wonderful pet. Of course, because of my shorter lifespan, I aged and matured at a faster rate than Violet or most other humans. I matured at 9 months old, and from then on tried to teach her what I could. Unfortunately, she doesn't speak cat at all, though I understand the local human tongue just fine. I just pretend not to. More fun that way. Why should I listen when I don't want to or have to? Now, after I had her for 2 wonderful years, where we loved each other greatly, to the point when she was home, I was her constant companion as well as best friend, and she was mine as well. Those were good years. If she caught a cold or was sick, I would use my cat's healing powers, all cats have them, to help her. By example, taking away the severity of her cough so she could sleep and rest up. Unlike most cats, I did not have to knock things over to get the attention of my pet. She already gave me plenty of that, and I reveled in it. If her friends came over to play, she insisted that I be part of whatever game hat they were going to play. She also made sure that her friends treated me well. No locking me in a closet or playing ditch the cat. Those were truly good times, if I do say so myself. As I got to know her, I felt her power slowly growing within her. One of the reasons I was placed with her was to guard what you never heard of a familiar, her, as well as help her develop those powers and live up to her potential. I can say, though, she was always good to me. I always tried to be good back at her. She was so good that my pet's parents rarely had to chastise her. Mind you, I did scold her from time to time, but in reality, she wasn't really that bad. One day during the fall of her 8th year, she seems to have taken very ill while in school. I think it may have started a couple of days earlier, but I may be wrong. I just don't think that I am. Just a feeling. Her parents brought Violet to a doctor immediately, but the doctor could not find anything wrong with her. Her symptoms are that she can't stay awake and is lethargic, as well as running a slight fever. After the Thompsons got home from the doctor, they put Violet to bed. I immediately went to attend my pet human, laying down with her, trying to keep her warm. While I'm laying there with her, my dragon sense starts to go off like an alarm. It is that to me, her illness does not seem to be something natural at all. Her skin is cold and clammy, and she doesn't even seem to be aware that I'm even there, very unlike her, even when ill. I try to extend my senses to figure it out, and the only conclusion that I can come to is that there is a spell or some kind of evil magic at work here, not sickness. After all, I can smell sickness in people just as any cat and most dogs could do. Now, me, am really worried. Who would want to hurt my pet? This situation is well beyond my own meager abilities. I do not believe human science can even help her. If I don't do something, she will die, and yes, I've heard something of this kind of spell. You see, from what I understand, Violet will waste away. It is a very cruel spell because it kills its victim slowly and painfully, also destroying whatever family is involved through self-blame. My pet human will die. I cannot allow this to happen. I must find mother and father and get some advice. I believe that they may know much more about this kind of thing than I do. After all, I'm still young, but I know when I'm in over my head, like I am right now. Just then, the family dog, Fred, as the humans call him, comes barreling in. I let Fred know to quiet down. Fred says, "I'm sorry. There, and I really didn't mean to disturb her." I answer Fred, "You weren't disturbing her. You were breaking my train of thought though. Violet is very ill, but I don't believe it's a normal human sickness." I tell Fred this because he knows something about my background. He challenged my authority over my pet once. He learned and will never do it again. The dog problem that I mentioned earlier. Fred answers me right back, asking me, "How do you know this?" Fred is not very smart at all. I answer him, "My dragon sense." Fred answers me, "Oh, okay, but is she going to be well soon?" I sadly answer him, "I don't think so. She is very sick. Look, Fred, we do not always get along, but I'm going to need your help with this." Fred answers me, almost in shock, "Darren, you actually need my help with something." Wow, I've always treated Fred as not being smart, but loyal. He is as the day is long. I answer him, "Yes, Fred, I'm in over my head with this. I am going to have to go outside for help. While I'm gone, I really need you to watch over Violet carefully. If she gets worse, you must do your very best to take care of her while I'm gone. I have to go and find a way to fight this evil spell that Violet is under." Fred asks me, "Where are you going to go? What are you going to do?" I let him know that I have to consult with those much more powerful than me if I am to stand a chance of saving my Violet. Fred then says to me, "All right, Darren, I will do what you need for me to do for you, gratefully. I believe you are right. This definitely is no ordinary sickness. Either of us would be able to smell the sickness in her. She smells more like meat getting ready to go bad." Unfortunately, he is correct. Darren answers Fred, "Wow, we actually agree on something. Amazing. Also, when it's time for me to leave, I may need a brief distraction so I could get out of here. I don't really need a distraction, but I want Fred to think he's helping me. It's good for his ego. Dogs have large egos, trying to live up to being called man's best friend, I guess." Fred says to me, "Sure, they'll do that for you. Tomorrow, when they bring home the food from the market, I think that will be a good time for you to leave." I tell Fred, "Perfect, we will do it then. I'm going to stay here with Violet till it's time for me to leave. You are welcome to stay, but please try to be quiet as you could so that Violet can rest. I'm also going to transfer a small amount of my dragon-born energy to her before I leave. Hopefully it will buy me enough time before this spell, or whatever it is, finishes her off." You see, animals are not as skeptical of magic in the world as humans are. We are more open to believe in it being it comes from nature, not technology. Being that we are much more in tune with nature than most humans are. Fred looks at me with his sad face and says, "Please save her. I know you can. You may be her only hope." Fred loves her too, in his own way. He is begging me to help her. Fred will stay with Violet after I leave. With his keen sense of hearing and smell, he'll be able to alert Violet's parents if something goes terribly wrong. After all, dogs are very loyal. Laying next to Violet, I now feel the spell that is affecting her. A regular cat would already be sickened by it. Because of my heritage, it doesn't affect me much. I make sure that I warn Fred about being too close to Violet, which he thanks me for. While laying next to Violet, I meditate on the spell that someone is using on my pet. It is clearly utterly the darkest of black magic. I believe it has a human origin, though I have no proof yet if it was one of my people. I really hope Mom and Dad can point me in the right direction. I'm deathly afraid of my pet, not to mention the rest of the world. Yes, Violet is potentially that important. Mom and Dad would not tell me why. Maybe I was so young to truly understand, or they didn't know. After all, I was only 12 weeks old when they found Violet for me. I stay by Violet all night. I watch as her parents fed her and cleaned her. I do my best to help, but other than give her some of my life energy and warmth, there is not much more that I can do for her. When I go to eat or use my litter box, Fred gets very attentive, keeping an eye on her and reporting any differences to me when I get back. I am grateful to him for helping me care for my pet. He follows instructions well, at least. Maybe he is a little smarter than I thought. Morning comes, and Violet is no better. I've done all that I know, and I believe all that I've done is to buy her a small amount of time. A week, maybe 10 days extra at most. That's how long that I will have to find an answer. I must succeed. I don't want my pet to die. My poor pet. Fred lets me know the groceries will arrive shortly, and that will be my chance to escape and go on my mission. Fred heads downstairs to be near the door. I take these last moments here, curling up with Violet, giving her some of my dragon-born strength, as well as my cat healing strength. Violet wakens for just a moment and scritches me in the way that I like, and she then falls back into a semi-sleep. I love her so much. Well, time to leave. I hear the door open and Fred goes nuts, running all over the house, knocking things over. I yell to Fred, thanks, and take off out the door onto the front lawn. The adventure begins. I have to make my way carefully halfway across town to a place that humans call Fulton Memorial Park, which is the central part of Waterbury. It is a wide open space with lots of grass, trees, bushes, a walking path, and much more. It was not an easy trip to the park, playing dodge car and keeping a lookout for animal control and wild dogs. Mom and Dad live in this beautiful park. The locals love them very much, feed them all year round, and some of them love them enough that when the weather is especially nasty, they bring them to their homes until the bad weather clears, and then they bring them back to the park. It has become their home. I was actually born in that park, as well as spending my first weeks of life here. This is where Mom and Dad found Violet and arranged for me to be placed with her, as I already mentioned. That was 2 years ago. Now, Mom and Dad did come to visit me at my new home several times, and taught me what they could about caring for zero or pet humans. They also taught us about our special heritage. They were very good for me. When I get to the park, I find my parents bathing in the late fall sun. They look so content and beautiful. I hate to bother them, but I must see my pet. Dad sees me and invites me to sunbathe with them. Of course, I accept laying down with them and doing some much-needed grooming. After I finish grooming, I explain my problem with Violet to my parents, who listen very closely to every word I say. One of my brothers, Doran, from the other side of town, is also there. He is just visiting the folks, being his humans. Let him run around outside. I must admit, it is good to see him. He was my favorite litter mate when I was a kitten. Boy, did we get into trouble together. Mom and Dad, though, always turned those troubles into lessons on how to stay out of trouble. Like me, he is very intelligent and caring, a true stormbringer. He gets there at the end of my tail and rubs his head into my chest to give me love and hope and a little reassurance. He hears of the trouble Violet is in and it saddens him. Mom and Dad let him finish before that they speak up. They know that I need the reassurance badly. Dad asks me, well, what do you intend to do? I tell him with a hopeful voice, Dad, I intend to try to save my human. After all, you gave her to me. Can you help? If not, can you please give me some direction? My father answers me, I can, but this may be very dangerous for you. In fact, it's possible that it may kill you. I tell him, Dad, that doesn't matter. Taking care of my pet is my responsibility. I have no choice. This is the job you gave me. What do I have to do? Dad answers me, "Okay, my son. Be calm and listen carefully. First, you must return home and check Violet's body and see if she has a new piece of jewelry on her or something different in her school bag. Also, go through her pockets. If you find anything that does not belong, you must remove it from the house and destroy it. You'll know what it is when you see it. Memorize what it looks like, including any inscriptions. After that, give it a couple of hours and see if she improves. If not, then come back here and let me know exactly what you found. Take Doran with you. He may be helpful. Doran, do you have the time?" Doran answers Dad, "For the family, I always have time to help, and to help their pet, even better. Doran is a good brother." I tell him, "Thanks, brother of mine. I will owe you for this." Dad looks at us both with a look of love in his eyes and sends us on our way. Before we leave, we both rub on Mom and Dad, just to let them know that we love them, and we do very much. Mom gives me a hopeful look. Then we start heading back to my pet's home. An unexpected friend. Again, it's a long journey back home, dodging cars and animal control. It's nightfall before we start back. We also have to look out for owls, foxes, and other night predators. Because of our enhanced senses, we will generally see the threats first. Still, it is not a safe journey home. You see, this one fox keeps following us. He thinks we don't hear or smell him. We set a trap for him, so when he comes out of some bushes, we jump him. Doran pins him to the ground and exposes the fox's neck to my teeth. I tell him, "Look, Foxy, we could kill you right here and now. Give me a good reason not to kill you." The fox tells us in a friendly voice, "Hi guys, my name is Morty. I kind of overheard, forget a kind of, I overheard your conversation at the park. I figured maybe, just maybe, I can be of help to you two, or at least I hope so." This takes both myself and my brother totally off guard. I say to Morty, "How did you overhear us? Dad would have told me about you." Morty answers me, "My burrow is near that bench you were at, and your dad and I have been close friends for at least 5 human years, and, trust me, he doesn't tell you everything. I know you are not aware of it, but your mom spent time in my burrow when your dad had to leave town on business. It's a big burrow. I was there when you were born. I guess you can say I'm kind of your fox god, father." Myself and Doran are both shocked by this, and we are still looking at him in total disbelief. Morty then adds, "You are both Stormbringer cats. Your power is the power of the storm. Also, you may not remember, I used to kitten sit you. You guys were always getting your little asses in trouble, unlike your brothers and sister. It was still fun, though. You kittens grew up into being such handsome cats." I asked Doran to let Morty up. We are both still in shock from these revelations. We are staring at each other, not knowing what to say or do. Then we both stare at Morty. Morty brushes himself off. This fox hates being dirty and says, "Hope I didn't scare you too much. By the way, when did you pick up on me following you?" I answer Morty, "I picked up your scent right after we crossed the street from the park. I did not know your intentions though, and really, I still don't. No offense." Morty answers me very seriously, "You're good to have picked up on my scent so soon after we left the park. Your dad trained you well, and my intentions are to help you. Now, before you ask why, your grandfather saved my life a long time ago in another place. This way I can pay your family back a little of what I owe them. Before you say no, remember, I know how to move, fight, hunt, and hide with the best. Even if you say no, I'm coming. I really will not take no for an answer from you on this. You need more help." Doran and I shrug our shoulders, and I thank him for his help, not knowing what else to say. I tell him, "Welcome to the insanity."